Hi everyone, today I'm joined by Anna Megill to talk about her upcoming book, The Game Writing Guide, Get Your Dream Job and Keep It, which publishes on the 19th of May. Anna is an award-winning game writer and industry veteran with experience writing primarily for modern AAA games, and she's currently working at Playground Games on their upcoming Fable game. Anna, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here today. I'm excited to chat about the book.
Me too. Yeah, really looking forward to talking about it. And publication day is rapidly approaching now, which is very exciting.
So soon.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, very soon.
Yeah.
I should say to everybody watching that pre-orders for the book are now live, and there is a discount code in the description below and a link to our website where you can pre-order the book. So be sure to check that out. Anna, to start things off, could you tell us a bit more about yourself and what you currently do, and perhaps a bit about your history and career journey in the industry?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a game writer and narrative designer, though I mostly focus on game writing. And I've been in the games industry for incredibly almost 20 years now. And in the time that I've been in the industry, things have changed. But I got my start in the very traditional way by entering as a QA tester, testing games to make sure they were up to quality. And then I slowly worked my way through different departments until I ended up on a writing team. And now I've been writing games for the equivalent of the big Hollywood blockbuster games now for about 20 years. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, really interesting to hear more about your sort of career journey. And my next question sort of is about the origins of the book. So
Mhm.
could you tell us what inspired you to write this book and on this particular topic?
Yes. So when I first started out in the industry, as I mentioned, it was a very different place. And game writers didn't have sort of the prominence I think that they have now. And so it was really hard for me to find advice. I didn't know where to look. There wasn't one resource I could go to and say, oh, okay, this is how you become a game writer. And so when I started talking about being a game writer on social media, I was sort of flooded with people asking for advice and wanting to get into the industry. Um, and no one had any information. Like it was just little bits and pieces. So I wanted to help them. I remembered what it was like to not know any of this. So I wrote up sort of an FAQ of the questions that people were asking me. And it was really basic. It just covered, sort of like what is a game writer and what is the hierarchy in a studio like, and how do you break into the industry and what does the job look like? Just super basic. And people were really excited and grateful, sadly, to even have that much information. And I just sort of let it sit there and be a resource for people, and time ticked by and people were still using that as one of their primary resources. But the industry had changed a lot. And I realized that a lot of the information I had in it wasn't as useful anymore. People were still writing to me with questions that weren't covered in the FAQ. And I thought, I should update this. So I kept thinking, okay, well, I'll add a section about this and I'll add a section about that, and I'll just sort of give it a brisk update and it'll be fine. But then once I collated all that information and I saw how extensive the rehaul was going to be and how much information people were really thirsty for, I thought, this isn't an FAQ anymore. This is a book. And so I talked to you and pitched the idea of, hey, there's a real need for this. People are crying out for answers, and we put together this book. And
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
It's a fantastic book. I'm really excited for people to get their hands on it. I mean, we've seen the reaction on social media. People are very excited. So I'm curious, maybe you could say a little bit more about some of the sort of key topics or key things that you cover in the book and maybe what readers can expect to learn about when they pick it up.
Absolutely. So I think an important thing to note is that this is not a book about the craft of writing. I'm not going to be like step by step, this is how you write a video game. I think there are plenty of books out there that are already doing that. Toya Kristen Finley has a book with CRC that covers sort of what a freelancer does, and it's a phenomenal book. There's the Game Narrative Toolbox. Those books exist already. What my book covers is the unspoken rules of becoming a game writer, sort of what you need to know to get into the industry and to stay in the industry and to build a career as a game writer. And these are things that I think knowledge that everyone sort of floats around, but no one has ever written down. It's the sort of, you don't know what the rule is, but you know when you break it sort of thing. And I realized that no one was sharing that information anywhere. And there was a lot of really terrible advice out there that people were following. And I was starting to see it come in for me as a hiring manager. And I thought someone needs to tell these people that they're breaking these rules. And so that's what this book is about. It's answering the questions that were in my initial FAQ, and taking those and expanding on them. And, you know, just filling in the basics like that FAQ did, like, how do you become a game writer? What is the job like? What is the day-to-day like? What should I look for in my contract? You know, what's the deal with NDAs? What are those all about? Yeah, I remember when I was first starting out, I didn't even know how to pronounce AAA. Like, I'd only ever seen it written. So it's like, is it pronounced AAA? Is it which is the joke, but it's AAA. So all of that little stuff that I think not everyone knows, and I think experienced game writers forget that you have to learn at each stage. It's there. So people should be able to pick up the book. If you're a complete newcomer and you don't know anything about games, there's no jargon, there's no insider knowledge you have to have. I will speak to you in plain language about how to become a game writer. And that includes every step of the process, from applying for jobs, finding work, getting the education you need to become a game writer, every step of the hiring process to becoming a game writer. And more critically, I don't just leave you there once you've gotten the job and say, okay, good luck. I walk you through the important things you need to know to stay in games. And that is the stuff that I think no other book really addresses. It's like, once you're in games, how do you ask for promotion? How do you put together a writing team? How do you, what's in a story Bible that you're going to need to write as part of your job? All of these tasks that you're going to be faced with. What are the sort of guidelines that you're going to need? And it's not just my take on this information. I spoke to, I think at this point, on and off the record, I spoke to over 50 really talented game writers and people in game narrative about the solutions that they found for all of these situations. And so everyone shared their knowledge, and I collated all of it and put it into this book.
Yeah, and it's really comprehensive.
Yes.
One thing that I really like about the book are the chapter end challenges you've included to sort of help the readers directly apply the things they've learned. Could you tell us a bit more about these and maybe some of the other sample materials you've included in the book?
Absolutely. So one of my personal pet peeves, I'll put it like that, is that a lot of books deal with theory, right? It's like, and these exercises that they have at the end of the book are testing your knowledge of the theory, at the end of the chapters, I should say. I wanted to challenge people to do things that will actually help them get a job. So when you come out of my chapter about resumes, I'm walking you step by step through what you need to do. And the challenge is to actually create a resume. So when you're done, you will have a resume that you can take and go and apply for a job with. And each chapter is like that. There's a challenge that will move you one step closer to getting what you want. You know, so finding a job, keeping a job, putting together a writing team, all of these challenges will help you get just a little bit closer. And I include materials like, you know, I get a lot of questions about story Bibles. People are very obsessed with those for some reason. So there's like the table of contents for what should be included in a story Bible. I give you examples of do's and don'ts for resumes, and a cover letter that, you know, spoke to me. I give you an example of that, an example of an NDA, just all of these materials that you're going to see in your career as a game writer that I think people outside the industry are curious about and don't have access to. And that includes a bunch of writing tests that I've accumulated. I don't share the writing tests. I'm not violating any NDAs, but I'm going to give you an idea of what all of them have in common and what you're going to face when you receive a writing test and how to do well on it. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And you sort of mentioned the interviews that you did as part of the research for the book. You've included loads of quotes and perspectives from others working in the industry. Were there any particularly striking conversations or things that you learned from the people that you interviewed?
So the most striking thing to me was how everyone recognized the importance of this book. How everyone is like, you're right, no one else is saying this, and it's not easy to get this knowledge. And how eager everyone was to help. Like they're just like, yes, I want to contribute. Yes, I want to help mentor people. And so it was just exciting for me to see that passion to help coming from the extremely talented people that I spoke to. But it was also really exciting to talk to people. Like I got to speak to some of my heroes in the games industry, people who are inspiring for me. And I asked them all a question of what does every game writer need to know? What's the one thing that every game writer should know? And looking at the different answers that I got to that same question from all of these really brilliant people was personally inspiring to me, and I hope will be inspiring to other people as well. Just how many different takes there are on what it is that you need to know to succeed in this industry. And they're all correct, but they cover different aspects of, I think, everything from your craft to what's important about game writing compared to traditional writing, and to just how you work with other teams and what those critical moments are that turn you from just a professional into, like, these people are real superstars of game writing. So yeah, I'm excited for people to see that, and I hope that they are as inspired by those words as I was interviewing these people. One of the things that was really important to me with these interviews and about the book as well is that I included voices from marginalized communities. I think that a lot of the books that I've seen written are written by people like me, who are, maybe older, more successful, and there are a lot of fresh young voices now coming in from marginalized communities who are facing unique problems. I'm not equipped necessarily to speak to those problems, but I spoke to people who are, and getting their advice and having someone from a marginalized community be able to pick up my book and read something that, someone who's experiencing the problems that they're going to face, how they dealt with those problems. I think that's a real valuable insight that my book offers that I'm just not seeing from other people. So
Absolutely, yeah, really important for those voices to be
yeah,
heard and for people to feel seen when they're reading the book as well.
yes,
Uh,
critical, I would say. Yeah.
How did you find the writing process for the book? Were there sort of sections or chapters that you particularly enjoyed writing?
So this was my first book, as you know, and I made a lot of mistakes. I think if I were to approach this book again, I would do things very differently. Um, but there were chapters that I really enjoyed, and I think just thinking about how I'd met some of these challenges in my own career, and being able to say, hey, this seems insurmountable in the moment, but this is actually something that when you break it down is pretty simple to overcome. Like I think those sections where I really got to clarify something that feels really thorny to game writers, like how do you work in a writing room? I think a lot of people have asked me for advice about that. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how I'm supposed to put this together. And it's really pretty simple, and being able to just break that down into a few simple, easy steps. Like that's the part that I enjoy, where I feel like I'm actually getting to share that knowledge with people. I will say, writing writing a book is a very long and arduous process. And the big lesson I learned is ask for twice as much time as you think you're going to need. Lesson learned. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's not the only book that you've been writing. So those
yeah,
that follow you on social media and follow your blog, they'll know that you've also been working on a second book called The Pocket Mentor for Video Game Writers.
yes.
Could you tell us a bit about that book and how that's going to differ from the Game Writing Guide?
Absolutely. So I am currently writing that. And the reason I'm doing two books is that I wanted one to be a deep dive. It's comprehensive. It covers game writing from soup to nuts. Like everything's in there, and you're going to get a lot of really detailed, insightful advice from me and from the collective of mentors that I assembled. But I also am aware that there are a lot of people who need this book the most are going to be young writers starting out, who might not have a lot of money, who can't afford, a textbook level of advice. And I still wanted this to be accessible for them. And so this is a punchy, just the facts. Here's how you do it, sort of quick, portable, pull it out of your pocket, get the advice that you need. And I thought to myself as I was writing it, this is what mentoring is actually like. Like, I don't have people booking hours of my time to talk, philosophically about, what it means to be a game writer. They're calling me up with specific questions. They need a quick answer. They have an interview in an hour and they want to know, hey, how should I prepare for this? Or they have a question about their resume and they just need a basic answer to get the job done so that they can meet this particular specific challenge. And that's what the Pocket Mentor addresses. I mean, I don't want to say textbook workbook because I don't think it's that dichotomy, but one is definitely a much more targeted look at each of these challenges and just, hey, here's how to do it, and not necessarily the whys of why things are this way in the industry. But they are meant to complement each other. You can get either one, but they work best together. So I would encourage people to get both, understand the theory, and then sit down and do the work. So yeah, and hopefully that will be helpful. And I think the Pocket Mentor, it's fun. That's the goal of it. It's to be a short, fun read. I have my own sketches in there, napkin sketches that I've actually done for people in mentoring sessions throughout the years. So hopefully that will help eliminate some of the problems that people are facing.
Yeah, very excited to sort of see people using the book sort of by themselves or, in conjunction with each other. And I'm very excited to read the Pocket Mentor as well once it's done.
Yeah.
Anna, it's been great talking about the books today. Really looking forward to seeing the Game Writing Guide published and for people to read it. A reminder to those watching that you can find a discount code and link to pre-order the book in the description below. If you want to come and talk about the book, why not join a discussion in the CRC Press Discord server? We've more author events like this, book announcements and promotion all happening there. So be sure to check out the invite link in the description as well. Anna, thank you again for joining me today. It's been really great to chat about the book.
It was lovely. Thanks for having me, Will.